Welcome to Transforming Work with Sophie Wade, exploring the future of work. Find out what's going on in our multi-generational distributed organizations. With a new tech and talent focus, discover what you need to know to stay upskilled and relevant and ensure your business keeps its competitive edge.
Hi. This episode puts offices in their place, so to speak, as functional and flexible features of our working lives, enabling people and enhancing performance. Offices play their part, cultivating environments and relevant hospitality-driven encounters that can adapt for teams' tasks and projects. And also the dynamism of people's situations and business needs. I'm delighted to be speaking with Mark Dixon, founder and CEO of IWG, the International Workplace Group, which Mark founded in 1989 as Regus, and has now expanded to 18 brands, including Regus, Signature, Spaces, HQ, Stop and Work, and Open Office. More than 8 million people now use their 4,000 plus workspace locations in over 120 countries worldwide. Hi, Mark. How are you?
I'm good this morning. Thank you.
Wonderful. We have a lot to talk about. Starting off at the beginning, though, as I always do, what did you study at school and what then?
I didn't study at school.
You didn't?
No. I did. I was a brilliant student up until the age of 16.
Okay.
When I decided that school was too slow for me. So I decided to go into business instead. So my studies have all been about businesses, how they work, how you grow them. And I've done many of them and still continue to do many of them today.
So you leave school, you're like, this is not for me. I want to move faster than that. I get that. And what business do you start first?
Sandwiches.
Sandwiches. Okay. What kind of sandwiches?
Delivered to your office.
Oh, okay.
These were the days of analog telephones. You know, those old Bakelite phones. And
right.
People phoned in their orders and I made sandwiches and delivered them to offices. It's a primitive version of Deliveroo or Just Eat. There's nothing new in this world, I always find. You know?
Absolutely.
So anyway, I built that up. I sold it. Didn't make a whole lot of money on it, I have to say. Decided I need more experience. I travelled around the world. I went all over the world, did loads of different things, and then came back and did business properly.
Okay, and then what was your next business?
Hot dog and hamburger vans.
Okay.
Food.
Right.
Easy start place, low cap. I didn't have any capital, so small capital, high returns. All you've got to be is better than everyone else. It's not about food quality, it's about persistent.
Ah, okay.
Being persistent. So be open when everyone else. And these were the Wild West days, pre-McDonald's.
Yeah.
And so that was quite a successful business. Built it up, sold it. Then made hamburger buns, built it up, sold it. Then did sort of a version of co-living. Again, all of this pre-technology, sort of pre-really advanced technology.
What does co-living mean? And why was that your next?
Co-living means, well, this is furnished apartments in Belgium, in Brussels, for secretaries. So, or assistants, lower level people who couldn't afford to have, didn't have the capital to buy everything, didn't have the wherewithal because they didn't know the market, so they could come in as a furnished apartment. Easy terms. That was a type of co-living.
And why Belgium? You don't have a Belgium accent. Sounds like a London accent.
I know. I did everything in England, but I decided, 88, that I wanted to go and do Europe. I spoke French. Yeah. Basically, I'm a pretty good French, I suppose. Yeah. And I wanted to do Europe. I mean, it's a bigger place, isn't it? I mean, there's more opportunities. Yep. And I always got the feeling that, UK is a super competitive place. You've got a lot of entrepreneurs all crammed into that small island, where Europe, I thought the fields would be more open.
Okay.
And I was right. There was loads of opportunity in Europe for entrepreneurial people. And I got on with it in Belgium, did that, and from that, sort of it developed what we now know as IWG, but started off as early iterations were Regus.
I'm just curious as to how co-living then spawned the idea of the flexible working space. What was it about that?
I needed an office.
Okay.
And I'd always, previous to that, I always had factories. Mm-hmm. I had factories. I didn't really have offices. Right. So I needed an office. That went quite well, that business. So I needed an office. I realised how difficult it was to, just get an office. It's not an easy thing. Yep. It should have been easy. It wasn't easy.
Right.
Then I saw other people had the same issue. Brussels at the time, this was at the beginning of the wider European Union. There were lots of people there. Mm-hmm. People didn't have the right support.
Yep.
So that's where it came from. And it was a hunch that, basically I opened the first centre. I researched it, opened it. One centre, September 1989.
Wow.
And everything's sort of built up from there.
What were some of the learnings as you were growing Regus? Obviously, very, very early in the market, but there was still huge need for this type of smaller and not flexible on a monthly basis to the same degree, but still very much more flexible. Much more flexibility in terms of what you were offering to businesses.
Yeah. Let me just put it in a time box, because this is pre-mobile phones, really. I mean, they have mobile phones, but they weighed a ton. Yep. And all made by Ericsson, I think. Sorry, but so pre-mobile phone, it was pre the internet, no internet. You had things like telex and fax machines, things like that, but it was all copper. Now, so the world, but the learnings were the same. Basically, from the beginning, and that lasts until today, companies want to buy things that are finished. They like to outsource things that aren't the core business. So they don't want to be in the property business. They thought they had to be, but they really don't. They are in the business of focusing whatever their business is, doing that really well, and just getting support services from whoever's the most efficient at supporting their activities. And that was the same there. And also, being capital light. I mean, it's become the mode today, but all those years ago, business people in general understood the value of capital light. I mean, focus capital on core business, not on peripheral sort of activities. The value of service, the value of immediacy, I can just take it. The value of flexibility, I can change it if it doesn't work, I can move it. All of those things then are the same today. What we have today is something just massive scale compared to that. We started off with 30 rooms. We now have about 1.3 million rooms. So you sort of that it's just unprecedented scale.
There has historically been a lot more flexibility just in the system culturally to do with work, to do with understanding the combination of work and life in people's sort of overall existence around Europe and the UK. Where did you see the most growth initially? Obviously, you were focused on Belgium to begin with and coming from the UK. How did that grow? And the size of business, because, just as in the US, the UK has 97.9% of businesses are under, 500 people. Same kind of statistics in the US and Europe wide. What were the type of businesses that were typically signing up, and the size and the reasoning for that?
In the early stage, it was mostly large companies, very large companies.
Okay.
It didn't start with small companies. It started with large companies. We still do large companies, but as time has gone on, as we've expanded the number of locations, we get companies of all sizes, from companies of one person. We support more than 1 million people today that work from home, for example, who could be large corporation employees, but they are also many sort of small entrepreneurs that would be in that group. So the evolution of the customer base has been more going from larger to smaller as we've grown the network. We about half of our business with larger companies still today, but we've expanded into other groups. They're all using it for the same reasons. They want to be efficient. They want it off the balance sheet. They want flexibility and speed. In the end, they have things to do in their company. They don't want complications.
Prior to the pandemic, with WeWork, I did see how that affected your business in terms of the type of environments, the way that you came in, the lighting, the mood of the environments that you were providing was affected by how WeWork was approaching the culture of work. What was your experience as the landscape changed to do with people really focusing more on the idea of flexible working as a culture, not just a location?
Yeah, I mean, look, we started off with one brand. We have 18 brands today.
Oh, okay.
So, all of those brands are focused on different segments of the market.
Got it.
WeWork is covering a narrow segment of the market, and it's a pyramid where at the bottom you have budget and at the top you have premium.
Okay.
But it's no different to the hotel industry.
Sure.
And it's important for customers to have choice. Not all workers are the same. Not all companies are the same. They have different types of activity they're doing, and that's why we have so many brands. And we do warehouses, for example, that we do. Basically we convert them into flexible space.
Oh, nice.
So we add the extreme on one end, and we do private members club on the other end. So this is very much very similar to what you would see in Marriott or Hilton, IHG, where there's a whole range of brands. You get big economies of scale by having significant networks with large marketing budgets to actually tell customers that you're there. But in the end, you've got to give the customer what they want.
I actually co-worked for a long time at Neuhaus in New York, and it was very much the idea of hospitality. So now that I look back to your F&B and the co-living experience that you had, this sort of hospitality, understanding that retail customer, how you're interacting with people, that type of experience that you bring into the office space is very meaningful, right?
It is hospitality. That's in every sense of the word. It's about looking after people, making sure, Marriott would be trying to get people to have a good night's sleep,
right.
Provide a decent bed, make sure the shower works. It's that basic service level that you need to achieve, where people can get space that they can work in, they can focus, very good internet, everything working, get support when you need it. And so it is very hospitality-like, and that's the way we think about things.
And do you see companies, obviously, that aren't using your spaces when they have their own office spaces, are they really getting the idea that their offices need to be more hospitality-oriented? You made a great comment in a recent article which said that work not being effective was not the fault of the location.
The whole idea of location has changed because technology just changes the whole landscape. This is sort of ridiculous to think that you need people working close to you in order to manage them. Ideally, yes, but in most cases it's impractical. So technology allows you to manage at distance, allows you people to work at distance. It is important, though, that these people are supported wherever they are so that they can be productive.
Right.
Okay. It's important that they're in great surroundings so that they want to go there. You need to have basic things, as you would have in a hotel, like good design.
Right.
So you need to have basic amenities, good design, and people that smile when you walk in the front door. That is really basic stuff, but that will encourage people to come to an office and be more productive rather than work from home.
And how do you see people in your offices across all the different types of demographics that you have utilizing these different brands? How are they using the offices differently? I'm interested in terms of the range from large companies using the sort of more premium brands and smaller companies, how they're optimizing the use of these flexible spaces that they have from you.
Well, they self-optimize. They optimize it themselves because they're buying from a menu. Again, we simplify everything. So they may buy offices by the day.
Okay.
So just rent an office for a day or an hour. And they may say, look, I've got a project team, I need them for 6 months, a year, 2 years. We do everything in between. So this is about time. It's about the type of office, the brand. What are you trying to do? And it's about trying to get the square pegs in the square holes and the round ones in the round holes. So you're providing customers with what they actually need at the right price in the right place to do their job. So the whole idea of location is changing. So as technology improves, and it really is improving rapidly, it sort of allows more remote working, facilitates that to a degree that wasn't possible a few years back. Managers have to learn how to manage at distance.
They do.
But another thing that I have said consistently is, a manager that can't manage people, won't be able to do it when they're right in front of them, or whether they're 1,000 kilometres away. It's about how good a manager you are. The idea that of course, with small companies, if everyone's in the same room, you can theoretically manage that better. But sometimes proximity isn't conducive.
Right.
Okay, it's really about your management skill here and using technology, and companies are doing that more and more. So workplace has to be attractive, has to be convenient if possible, and has to be well supported so that companies get what they really want, which is productivity. That's why you employ someone. You don't employ someone because you want to fill offices. You employ someone because you want them to be creative and come up with or do the work they've got to do in the most efficient way. It's all about outputs, and that gets lost in all this narrative. That's why companies have people. Everyone forgets that.
Right. I'm curious as well now that there are so many different elements that are changing in how businesses operate because of technology, how we're working as a result of how those changes are evolving, how we are needing to reach our customers, deliver the products, deliver services. There's much more project work. So I'm very interested that you offer project-based flexible services. Are you seeing that much more growth in that type of need where people sort of need a space for 6 months? It's also something that has to be managed differently. So that is enabled.
Well, there's a whole, look, this is a huge subject. We're never going to cover it in the time. But essentially people want collaboration space. Now what's that? That is, I've got all these people all over the place. I want to bring them together for a day, for 2 days, and I want to, I want to meet everyone and discuss things face to face.
Right.
Now, that more and more common. Project space, similar thing. The world has become the world of work is fractionalizing. So you're getting a lot more people that work from home, a lot more freelance work.
Right.
Where companies need to bring the freelancers together, either collaboration space or maybe say, look, I'm going to take this space for 6 months, 9 months. We do the project, we whiteboard the whole thing, we build it, we do it. So business become quite dynamic like that. And as the workforce sort of fractionalizing, you bring consultants in, you bring freelancers in, you bring your own people, you put it all together. The whole objective of business is outputs, productivity, creativity, get it done. The one thing I can tell you, having been in business so long, time waits for no man, no woman, and no business. So time is of the essence.
Yes.
So, what we really do is provide a super flexible thing that you can just pick up, use it. It's a business tool. And it's a business tool that works. Just like you go and rent a car, you pick it up, you drive it, you bring it back. It's a great service. I mean, rent a car.
Yes.
I used it at the weekend. Fabulous service. A brand new car, really, really good. We do the same thing. So make it easy for companies to do what they have to do. But the world of work has also devolved. It's not about office space only. It's about office space. We support more than 1 million people working from home. And we have huge numbers of people that do drop-in, who just use the whole network. So what I believe that the world of work starts looking like is more and more companies platform working. What that means is you have a platform across the UK. We're in 120 countries, so across all those countries, and companies just plug into it. A bit like, if you think about plug-in hybrid cars, electric cars, what makes it good is if you can find a charger.
Right.
And you plug in and you go to the... But that's the sort of platform of chargers that allows electric cars to work. And we're the same. So UK, it's about having more and more convenient locations, more and more cities, towns, villages, railway stations, airports, and so on, so that you can just work from anywhere. You just plug in, you look on your app, you go to the most convenient place, you work productively.
I love that when you say work from anywhere. As I just was interviewing Raj Chowdhury, who has just released his book called "The World Is Your Office," and all about working from anywhere. I love the fact that you're speaking about what I call the blended workforce and the increasing use of freelancers, contractors, very, very different combination of employment arrangements to suit everybody. The fact that you can facilitate people from anywhere coming from, bring people together or allowing them to be working from. I love the fact railway stations as well as villages. That's fantastic. Yes. Having been through lots of railway stations and airports recently, that really is good news for me. Right now, we're just going through yet another wave of discussion about RTOs. I know what I think about that. You're speaking my language in terms of thinking about the office or working space as a tool. It's an important tool in the whole toolbox. Yeah. Very much aligned with that. How do you speak to business leaders or a manager who has or a senior executive who has their CEO is saying, no, we need to focus on returning people to our office? What do you say to them?
Yeah, that's the difference. You see, look, this is highly nuanced thing. So when they say we want people to come back, what do they actually mean? Mm-hmm. So what most people are doing is they're answering a question they've been asked. They don't have data in front of them. They're just saying, they're asked a question like, do you think people work better from offices?
Right. And
if the answer is yes, they say, well, are you going to get everyone back to the office then? That what's really happening is this, because we're talking to large numbers of companies. I mean, 80% of the Fortune 500 use us. And the majority of them are moving to a more distributed workplace. So they're saying, yes, we do want people back in an office, but that office doesn't have to be an inconvenient office in the center of Chicago. That we're just saying office work, focus work is better than too many interruptions and disruptions if people are working from home. So, and we're seeing that very large companies are using our network to say, we're going to provide you with an office near to where you live, and that is very popular. So, so it's highly nuanced. For some companies, and the ones that really answer the question and really are doing it, yes, they do need people back at an office because they're meeting people there.
Right.
There's this other argument about what about new people joining the company, that how are they going to learn and so on. Well, they're not going to learn by sitting in the corner of a large office building.
Exactly.
If you focus on something like this and you onboard people properly, the space is the last thing. Mm-hmm. Proximity again is the last thing. So we're seeing companies, many of them, getting much better at this. Human resources departments are becoming much better at onboarding people at distance, mm-hmm. and then bringing people into the culture. And companies save money, flexible working, spend more money on the people, have a better outcome.
There are a couple of things that many office-focused companies say, or managers say, which are one about the water cooler and all that serendipity that happens there. And the other one is about apprenticeships, and that apprenticeships have to be side by side in the office. What do you say to those two particular concepts?
I'd say first of all, water cooler. I mean, these people don't know Gen Z people, obviously. Gen Z people don't talk at the water cooler. They're looking at their phones. And
snapping each other on their phones. Yeah,
all of that stuff. So it's a new world of if they even go to the water cooler, they've got one of those big bottles of water, don't they?
That's true. They have. That's true. They have their own water bottle.
I don't keep getting up to go to a water cooler.
Yeah.
But look, apprenticeships and stuff. Yes, it depends what you're doing. If you're a carpenter, yes. But if you're doing office type work, much better to share the screen. And that's what people do. They don't sit side by side, they share a screen.
Thank you.
This is sort of some kind of view of the world, which is, it's like ignore technology. It's about, people that didn't accept the move from horse transport to motor cars. They said, no, never happened. Never happened. The same people I remember saying, email's never going to catch on. We're still going to use the post.
Yeah.
We're still going to use the post. We have done for years.
Habits die hard, right? Some habits die very hard.
And so this sort of thing is it's an unresearched thing. By the way, there's a whole lot of research out there, but no one bothers to read it. To say there is a better way.
Right.
In the end, why are you in business? Why do you employ people? What is, you don't employ people just to have people. You want them to be productive. So how do you do that?
What are the most exciting developments that you're seeing now? You've seen amazing growth in 2024, adding, I think, almost 900 new locations. What are some of the things that you're seeing both companies are doing, the epiphanies they're having in terms of how differently they're thinking about work? Because, one could imagine that, hybrid's over, RTO is going to win. I know that that's not true, but and that obviously that growth is showing that. So not just how companies are thinking about work differently, but also for your company and all the different brands and the growth that you're seeing there.
Companies get it. That's the thing. When you cut through all this stuff, how are conversations going with the buyers? Now, the buyers have changed as well. Yep. That's interesting. So where we used to deal with just property directors, now we're talking to procurement, to human resources,
good,
and to finance people in general. So that has moved, and that's because we've turned what was complex into a purchase.
Right.
It's not. You don't have to be a property expert. It's just a purchase. You just buy it because you need it. So the conversations have evolved, and I think customers and the buyers, certainly for the larger companies, really, really clear about what they want. Now, some of them do want to have offices in CBDs and get people to come to them. And we're very happy if they do, because we have those offices.
Yeah.
But in the majority of cases, that would not be the case. They're saying, look, we want people in offices, but we want those offices to be convenient so we can hire people. Hard to get people into the centre of London or New York City every day. Easy to get them so you can work. You live in Reading, or you live in Connecticut.
Right.
We're in Connecticut. Yeah, you can work from there. We need you in New York once a week. That's fine, no problem. But I don't need to waste 2 hours a day going backwards and forwards to use a computer. So, that understanding is there. It is changing. Companies are understanding that they're in the job of supporting people to be more productive. That's the job. They're very focused on their balance sheet. They're very focused on capital light. They're very focused on flexibility. And they're very focused on being efficient in how they do things. And they're saying, look, if we can rent it, don't buy it. And that's what you do when you take an office lease and you furnish it and do all that. Very inflexible. So it's happening. I mean, the growth in our industry and our business is tantamount to that. But it's still just at the beginning. That situation in 4 years' time is going to be entirely different as you get more and more choice. There's more network, more of the platforms out there.
You're also able to allow people to flex for during the week, it sounds like. Small amounts of space for those people who want to come in or want to get out of their houses or, work reasonably locally but not go all the way to HQ or whatever, but then have those moments where they can actually take on more office space. That's very important, I think, as people start to think about space as a service and design work differently. How are you also thinking about, for your own company and all the different people you are employing across the different brands, about work design?
We spend a lot of time and money and resources thinking about design. But look, we're designing it for the customers. In our own company, we have lots of people working from home.
Okay.
Because we have all of our back office works from home, and most of our people are very, very mobile. So we don't have large fixed offices, even though we're in the office business. So people will use the system, use the platform to do their work where they need to be, not sort of in inconvenient locations. If they have meetings in Birmingham, they work from Birmingham. They don't work from London, go to Birmingham for the meetings, come back. Right. So it's, look, design's important. And we continue to invest in this. It's not just the design of how the offices look, it's how the technology works, what services people want. Do they want 3D printers? Do they not? It's all of these things. Not just about space, about equipment. It's about what people services they need.
It's always trying to anticipate the next thing that the companies are going to be needing.
And we're investing about 50 million a year in that. So just in the R&D for that.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Let's just assume, because most companies do have a hybrid model of some sort, however flexible it may be. I ultimately think that companies will work out that flexible hybrid, some kind of flexibility, is going to be what their people need. When a company is looking at their whatever work policy that they have right now, what do you suggest to them to be thinking about in terms of how to think about work and location and how all these different elements fit together?
It's a very straightforward thing. It's not a binary thing. Everyone makes this. It's not hybrid, not hybrid. It's you've got to think about what the people are doing first. So in a workforce, depending on the size of the company, you have all sorts of different people who need different things. So in a modern world, a modern tech facilitated world, with people like us and others, you can say, right, I want these people. They will work better working from home. These ones I'm going to allow to work hybrid. These ones I need in the central office. These ones I need on the road. Salesforce on the road all the time. Don't want them to have any office. They can have an office wherever they want, but I want them selling. I don't want them to sit in an office. So you structure your portfolio, not your policy. You say it's a policy that allows the best support for the people, for the job that they're doing. And that is how companies are approaching it more and more. They're not saying it's a policy. It's just you buy tools for those people. And it's not a sort of this RTO or not. It's just, you know, that's sort of prehistoric as a view.
Right.
That's a very short answer to a very, very big question. Okay. Now, and by the way, most people are right when they say we need people in an office. They're right. It's just, where is that office? An office is an office. Mm-hmm. It allows focused work. It allows people to not get distracted and things like that. Excellent. They're really, really good. But it's not, you know, a question. So that everyone's in agreement with. It's just about location now. And yes, where it all goes wrong. Because, you know, this is a sort of conversation that's about where is it all in the CBDs or not? Well, it's not, because that doesn't make any sense. You know, most people don't live in the CBDs because they can't afford to.
Exactly.
So yeah, that's and it will change. I mean, look how smartphones have changed the world in a very short space of time.
Yes.
And technology will change the workplace. That has changed the workplace, will change it even more.
Mark, thank you so much for sharing insights over an extraordinary career that continues to grow as you're understanding and designing and offering work as a location, as a space, as a service, and with the flexibility that companies need and people need. So I really, really appreciate everything that you shared and for your time. Thank you so much.
Thanks very much, Sophie. Thanks.
Thanks so much again to Mark Dixon, founder and CEO of IWG. You can find out more about Mark on LinkedIn, and also go to IWG's website, iwgplc.com. And there you can find out more about all of the different brands under the IWG group. Immediate action tip: to optimize work and locations for outcomes, structure your portfolio, not your policy, and give people the best support for the jobs that they are doing. If you are interested to explore how modern work dynamics are affecting your team or company, consider one of my new executive coaching sessions. I offer personalized, valuable insights, discuss top priorities, and answer your most pressing questions. Whether that's about leading multi-generational teams, managing distributed workers, or how to scale rapidly in the modern work environment. If you enjoyed this episode, please share it with a friend and like it. You can always write a quick review wherever you listen. For more curated research, articles, and information, follow me on LinkedIn and sign up for my Work in Progress newsletter on flexos.work. Look forward to seeing you again soon. Thanks for watching.